A volunteer legacy has committed to the University of Tennessee. Who is it, and what does he bring to the 2027 recruiting class? All that and more Tuesday, Locked On Vols.
You are Locked On Vols, your daily podcast on the Tennessee Volunteers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Make it Tuesday morning, everybody. Welcome into Locked On Vols. I'm your host, Eric Cain, free and available here. This is Locked On Vols, wherever you get your podcasts. Appreciate you everydayers for being a part of the show. I am your host, Eric Cain, a member of the VolQuest.com team covering Tennessee athletics here in Knoxville. And today's show is brought to you in part by our friends over at Game Time, where you can download the Game Time app, create an account, put in the promo code Locked On College for $20 off your first purchase. Again, shout out to Game Time. Vol Legacy commits to the program. We're going to go over who that is here in segment number 1, taking some of your mailbag questions in segment number 2, and going over some portal activity for the Tennessee baseball team in segment number 3. That is your Tuesday show. JP Peace has committed to the University of Tennessee, and he is the first of what will be a big class eventually for the class of 2027 for Tennessee football. JP Peace is 6'3", about 215 pounds, right here from Knoxville, Tennessee, where he attends West High School. He is a 3-star rated prospect, not a national recruit so far for any of the services, but again, a very, very early 2027 recruit. Again, the rankings haven't been out for the entire class, and there'll be different cycles in that regard as time goes on. So it's really, really early when talking about 2027 recruits. But JP Peace, that's kind of where he stands right now as a 3-star prospect. The significance of JP Peace, I'll tell you about JP Peace, the football player, here in a moment. But first, JP Peace, the Vol legacy. First and foremost, his father, Robert Peace, played at the University of Tennessee. Most importantly, his grandfather, Philip Fulmer, was a national championship winning coach here at Tennessee, a Hall of Fame coach here at Tennessee, and of course had a stint as the athletic director here at Tennessee. So obviously JP has grown up all around Orange his entire life. He has lived and breathed Tennessee Orange, the Power T, and so this was kind of a no-brainer once he got a committable offer to the University of Tennessee about a month ago, a couple of weeks ago. He wanted to go ahead and kind of start building that 2027 class and becoming the first commit for the University of Tennessee. But I do think it's more than just who he is, right? Where he comes from, Philip Fulmer and Robert Peace. He's his own player. Again, I mentioned earlier, 6'3", about 215, 220, kind of around there. And I saw firsthand, because we do high school football here in the Knoxville area, how he grew and developed as a sophomore last year for the Rebels of Knox West. Kind of played on that edge, outside linebacker, kind of a Leo situation, rushing the quarterback, made a lot of plays in space, good athleticism off the edge, good bend. Going to move to inside linebacker this year for Knox West, and Knox West always has a history of having great linebacker play on that defense, okay? And excited to see that transition there for him. But you saw him grow and develop and really mature as a sophomore. And so his body type is already kind of changing, and it's only going to get better years down the line when he gets in a collegiate strength and conditioning program. So I think, he's not just getting this offer, not just committing to Tennessee based on who his family members are. It's because he's going to be a pretty daggone good football player down the line. He's already a pretty good football player here in East Tennessee in the high school realm. So that's awesome. Plus, it's another local commit. You got to love that. But JP Peace, a big deal, in terms of committing to the University of Tennessee. You check out the impact analysis over there at VolQuest by my colleague Matt Ray, and he spoke with the defensive coordinator, Barron Chandler of Knox West. He said, quote, JP is first off a tremendously hard worker. He does everything in the weight room. He runs track. He's doing everything to get faster. He obviously switched positions this past spring from outside linebacker for us to inside linebacker, and really spends a lot of time with the coaches just trying to learn the position. Obviously, he's got a dad who played the position, and that doesn't hurt at all. We spent some time together, all three of us, just kind of so we're all on the same page. And what we're telling JP, he quickly picked it up way faster than I ever dreamed. He really almost kind of a natural to it, but he's a kid that wants to know all the reasons for why we do it this way or why we do a step this way, so on and so forth. So we went through a lot of that process leading up to spring practice, and I credit to him. He was willing to do it. I mean, if we will If it was stealing 30 minutes together watching film while he's eating lunch, then me and him got together and did that with him watching film on his own. But then doing all those things in the weight room and running to get himself prepared physically to be able to go out there and perform, end quote. So a lot of good things there from defensive coordinator from Knox West and Barron Chandler, talking about all the work that JP Peace has put in off the field this spring in preparation to making that move to inside linebacker. Sounds like a real junkie for the game of football, a real nerd for the game of football, if you will, wanting to know the why. I love players that want to know the why, not just the how, not just the what, but the why. It's like, okay, I need to do this on a certain situation. When the offensive player does this, when my number 3 receiver does this, I do this. When my offensive lineman blocks down, I take the edge, I sell the edge. But it's the why. Why do I do that? Why do I make this adjustment when my number 3 receiver goes out? When my offensive tackle blocks down, why do I step up and seal that edge there? I love football players that ask the why, not just the how or the what to do, how to do it, but why am I doing it? And that seems like that's who JP Peace, really is. And so really kind of starting this class, the first commit for the University of Tennessee for the class of 2027. And again, he's going to be starting to try to build those class, work on those commits, work on those athletes that Tennessee's already starting to kind of reach out to. They can officially start reaching out to these guys, I want to say, in about a week for the class of 2027. Officially, right now, those 27 prospects have to reach out to Tennessee first. But there's always that date in the summer to where Tennessee can start looking ahead to the class ahead and start, texting and calling those guys during the available windows. And that's coming up, I want to say, in like a week. So that's a good thing for sure. Austin Price caught up with JP Peace as well over at VolQuest.com right before his commitment and had this to say, quote, "Throughout the whole process, I knew my family would have the big impact, but at the end of the day, I didn't go to Tennessee because of my family. I went because of the relationships I built with the coaches and because I think this is the best place for me." He said, "Coach Inge and I built a special relationship. I'm excited to go work with him. He is just a great coach. I know he's going to be there for me, even if we aren't on the football field. That is important to me." He goes on to talk about what he's going to bring to the Tennessee signing class, the committed class. He said, quote, "I feel like I'm bringing to Tennessee as a hard worker. I play with a very high motor," I've seen that, "and a very versatile, and I feel like I can help Tennessee in any way that I can." He said, "For me, my explosiveness and my experience on the field has continued to improve every single rep, every single game. I'm excited to continue to build on my weaknesses and grow to improve my game." Check out the full interview with JP Peace, who committed to the University of Tennessee on Monday morning, or we'll call it Monday around lunchtime, over at VolQuest.com. Austin Price and Matt Ray, of course, have the great coverage over there. So Tennessee now has 10 commits for the class of 2026. Tennessee now has 1 commit for the class of 2027, and a Vol legacy, Philip Fulmer's grandson, Robert Peace's son, and JP Peace. Good starting point. Good starting point for sure. And again, I don't feel like this is just he's a legacy, let's let him come here. I've seen him play ball, and he's only going to get better. For him to have that impact, played a little bit of special teams as a true freshman. There's no such thing as a true freshman in the high school realm, but as a freshman in 2023 for Knox West, and then he got on the field and played a huge role this past fall. So I've seen him already start to develop, with my own very eyes, and I'm excited to see how he continues to get better in that regard. So JP Peace, a volunteer legacy, has joined Tennessee's committed class for 2027, and we'll look to see how his star rating improves or his rankings improve as the year goes along. Again, a 3-star prospect right now, linebacker, very, very early in the 2027 recruiting cycle, that being for JP Peace. All right. When we come back, going to take some of your mailbag questions on some recruiting rankings, some baseball talk, and a little bit of football talk as well. All that coming up next as we continue on here with your Tuesday morning Locked On Vols. Go ahead and stay tuned. We got more coming up. There's nothing quite like the NBA playoffs. The intensity, the buzzer beaters, the fans losing their minds. It's the kind of atmosphere that you just got to experience live. And this year's matchup, obviously, it's already delivering right where you want it. Game time, it makes it easy, fast to see your seats. The biggest deals for some of the biggest games, like these playoff games. Prices on the app actually drop the closer you get to tip-off with killer last-minute deals, views of your seat, no surprise fees at checkout. Game time is the total package. It really is a game changer, not just for sporting events as well. We're talking NBA playoffs right here. Major League Baseball regular season happening, football coming up in the fall, but concerts, shows, movie, like anything in your area, a lot of the times those tickets are going to be sold on the Game Time app. So go ahead and check it out today. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, put in the promo code LockedOnCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LockedOnCollege, LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. You can download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Hey guys, welcome back to your Tuesday morning Locked On Vols. Going to answer your mailbag questions right now, everydayers. We try to do this segment every single Tuesday right here on the show. So we'll dive down into it right here with Jacob. We'll kick things off with Jacob. What are your thoughts on the Vols potentially moving from Nike to Adidas? Personally, I'm all for it if it keeps bringing more money in for the teams. Here's a very, very, very unpopular opinion. And maybe listening and watching me, you everydayers, this may come as no shock to you. I don't care. I've never cared, even when I was, D2 powerhouse, Carson Newman, way back in the day, Uncle Rico style. I never cared. I mean, sure, my preference is Nike. That's my preference. But I wear a lot of Adidas at times, based on, the clothing apparel that I get from, this job or that job or whatever. That's just, to me, it's never been that big of a deal. But I understand that's a huge deal for so many athletes, first and foremost, but also, fans, the swoosh, the Nike swoosh and all that. So it is a big deal. I'm not trying to minimize it. I'm in line with you, man. Like, if I'm a fan, more important in this era of college athletics, this is how I would view it. And again, who's to say I'm right and wrong, but this is how I would view it. If the reported deal for Adidas is bigger than Nike or whatever, when it comes down to it, with revenue sharing and having to pay these players, I want the deal that is going to give the university more money in order to help in those regards, because college athletics, it ain't free. It's certainly not free. So, thinking about it from a fan's perspective, that's what I would want. But I recognize it's a big deal. I know the athletes, a lot of them have a preference, or, some are like me that don't really necessarily care one way or the other. There's good football players, there's good baseball players, there's good basketball players that are repping Adidas just like they are Nike. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. Nike will have the final say because they're on the current contract. We'll see exactly what the University of Tennessee elects to do. But for me, I'm kind of with you, Jacob. Like, whatever brings in the most money, I think makes the most sense to me. And again, I recognize that is an unpopular opinion. Kobe wants to know, could we not make Dylan Loy, a starter for us next season? Of course, Dylan Loy entered the transfer portal. We'll talk more on that in segment number 3. I think that there was an opportunity there for him to be one. I don't think anything was guaranteed. Certainly, he's shown the ability to be a stretch guy. I mean, he was that Kirby Cannell role this past year, pitching multiple times over the weekend, leading the SEC in appearances. I think he had 33 appearances, 34 innings, and a third pitch. But I get it from both sides. Like, for him, I believe, in conversations I've had with people, I believe he wants the opportunity to go and start. That wasn't a guaranteed here at Tennessee. It's also going to be a contract year. Draft year's next year. What's going to work best for him and his projections and all that. So it was one of those situations where it was his dream to play for Tennessee. He did. He contributed on a national championship winning team. He was one of the top bullpen arms for Tennessee this year. And now he wants to go and explore other opportunities. So just kind of the nature we're in, like the nature of college athletics that we're in. And so I wish him well. He's a really good kid, comes from a great family. It was big for Tennessee this year. But I think he wants to explore other opportunities for him and do what's best for him. So I do think, to answer your question, that they could have toyed around with the idea of him starting. I don't think Tennessee wanted to bank on that because they valued him in the bullpen so much more in the role that they kind of had him this past year. A couple more questions here, then we'll talk more baseball. Any reason, here's another baseball question, any reason why Jay Abernathy didn't get a lot of playing time this season? Injury, maybe? I feel like the team played with a little more intensity and energy when he was in the lineup. I'm huge on Jay Abernathy. Early in the season, I was advocating for him to play more. I just think he brings so much to the table. From a speed perspective, he's got some sneaky power. We saw that in his last AB of the season when he homered, sent a 2-run shot or a solo, whatever it was, against Arkansas. I think he's learning to play the outfield. He's a middle infielder, okay? But he was learning to play left field, learning to play center field, and I think he improved in that regard and all that. I think Tony Vitello loved the fact that they can bring him on as a defensive replacement if needed, but also as a pinch runner with speed on the bases. And you saw early in the season, Vitello and staff implement Jay Abernathy at the end of the game as a pinch runner midway through and kind of have him as a force off the bench. But more than anything, I don't think it was anything that he did wrong. I think it was, typically about midway through SEC play, you have your 9 and you roll with that, or you have your 8 position players and you roll with that. It took Tennessee a little bit longer to kind of figure out who their main guys were going to be. But once they did, they felt more comfortable with a veteran in Dalton Bargo, and I recognize he slumped in the season. I get all that, but the guy hit .314 in SEC play this year. Felt more comfortable with the veteran, Dalton Bargo, his bat in the lineup, and felt like his glove was good enough to play left field while having the option of a Jay Abernathy coming off the bench. That's just kind of the way they viewed it. I'm excited to see Jay Abernathy. I can't wait to see him in an everyday role. I think he's going to be good, but I do not think it was anything injury-related whatsoever. Let's go on to another mailbag question here on the YouTube channel. This one's good. Always been curious of the SEC coaches. Who is your favorite person? I'll give you 4 to choose from best to worst. Eli Drinkwitz, Shane Beamer, Lane Kiffin, Brian Kelly. Have fun. Oh, this must be an everydayer because they know my disdain for a number of these guys. He's not mentioned, but my favorite is Sam Pittman. Just a phenomenal human being. Of these 4, I don't dislike Lane Kiffin. It's not like I'm a huge Lane Kiffin fan, like some have accused me on here before. But I don't dislike Lane Kiffin. I think the way he left Tennessee, way back in the day was kind of wrong in the middle of the night. I get all that. I do think that it was only for Southern Cal and no other place he would do that for. But nonetheless, we're not talking about that. Of these 4, Drinkwitz, Beamer, Kiffin, Kelly, Lane Kiffin, number 1 far and away. It's not even close. Okay, so best that. Number 2, oh my gosh, Brian Kelly's number 4. It's not even close because I just, personally, my opinion, not much of a fan of the person there. Brian Kelly's number 4. I think the antics, this is just my opinion again, I think the antics get a little bit of annoying with the Shane Beamer, and Tennessee fans have lived through that a little bit of time, with Butch Jones' regime, right? But I think overall the person, recruiting-wise, day-to-day, I think's okay. But certainly some of the things he says in a press conference, the way he handles pressure, the way he handles losses, it's not very pretty sometimes. Having said all that, I will go Shane Beamer number 2. Eli Drinkwitz, in my opinion, I just think's the dork. I think he's a try-hard. I think he tries to be relevant. I think he tries to be the class clown. I do think he's intelligent. I do think he's a pretty good football coach in certain areas. But I think that he's a try-hard. So those are just my opinions there. That was a really, really good question. That was a fun question. Last one here, another YouTube user. He's going to get on me a little bit here, but that's okay. Should we be starting? I think he says star. It says starting, but I think he means starting. Should we be stargazers and want to have classes with 75% plus blue chip ratio, or should we be content with around 50%? Please be realistic. Tired of insiders basically calling fans dumb. Never done that. When it's obvious that the teams who recruit higher rated players across the board consistently have more on the field success. I'm an everydayer. Love the content. Appreciate that, my man. Just tired of the backhanded stargazer comments from the entire VolQuest staff. To be honest with you, I feel like I'm the only one that uses that term stargazer, or at least that comes to mind, and I hate that phrase. I know I've used it a lot lately, but I feel like I'm the only one doing that. I'm definitely not calling fans dumb. Never have, never pretend to. That's why I always say fans can fan the way they want to. Who am I to tell you what's right or wrong? Here's the difference here. I do think that if you were only getting these type of players that I'm talking about, or that you're frustrated about with my comments, then yes, I agree completely that that's an issue. Now, you've got to get your David Sanders. You got to get your Jordan Rosses. You got to get your James Pierces. You got to get your Nikos. You got to get your, these big recruiting wins. Mike Matthews. Tennessee has a couple of big recruiting wins every year. You need to get those. That way that you can take these players that are lowly ranked, that might not have as many stars as somebody else, that you really, really like. But in order to get those type of players, you need to get some wins as well, is kind of how I view that. And I think Tennessee has that balance there. In terms of blue chip ratio, yeah, it needs to be higher. I mean, every program in the country would say they wish their blue chip ratio was higher, right? But that's kind of how I view that. And I always say, like, the coaching staff has a different set of metrics on how they view prospects than fans do, or than I do, or people that, talk in front of a microphone do. They might like a certain part of this game where they can grow and they can do where fans don't even realize it, or because we don't do football full time, right? I mean, we're not a football coach, so like we just don't know a lot of the things that the coaches might see. That's what I mean by that. But nonetheless, I think to your overall point, yes, blue chip ratio needs to be higher. Yes, fans should want to get good players. Yes, good players. Good development's the most important thing, but good players means, good teams. I recognize all that. But in order to take some of these guys, you got to have your wins. So as long as you're having your wins, I think this is okay. If you're not having these wins, then I don't think it's okay. Appreciate the comment. Thanks so much for listening every day, man. And thank you all for sending in your mailbag questions, just like you do each and every Tuesday right here on Locked On Vols. Some baseball portal activity. Tennessee got a big-time transfer portal commit on Sunday night, Father's Day, and I'll tell you who it is, what he brings to the table, and we'll speak about Dylan Loy, who intends to enter the transfer portal a little bit here to conclude your Tuesday Locked On Vols. Stay tuned. Tennessee baseball picked up a really interesting commit in Garrett Wright on Sunday evening, committed to the University of Tennessee, signs with the University of Tennessee out of Bowling Green. He's a defensive standout. He's a catcher first and foremost, all-MAC first-team catcher the last 2 years. Okay, so he's a catcher first and foremost, but he's also an outfielder. He logged 22. He logged action in 22 games this past year across the outfield, left field, center field, right field. Tennessee loves the versatility. They view him as a utility, as an athlete, not just a catcher. Certainly, when Tony Vitello is filling out his lineup card next year, if it makes the lineup deeper, it makes the most sense, then I think Garrett Wright obviously can go back there and be your starting catcher. But this isn't a Stone Lawless isn't good enough or anything like that. This is just, they love the versatility on defense. And even along with that, I don't want to say more so, but along with that, man, they love the bat. They absolutely love the bat. He reached base in 52 of 54 games this year. He was the lone player in the MAC to tally a batting average over 400, hitting 406 on the season. That ranked 5th in program history. Also the only player in the league to register an on-base percentage higher than 500. He has 60 runs scored in 2025, ranked 9th in Bowling Green program history. 82 hits are good enough for 5th all-time for Bowling Green. 8 home runs, 48 RBIs. That ranked 2nd on the team, 134 bases. That was 10th most in program history. Again, he logged a .991 fielding percentage, playing 5 different positions for Bowling Green. Caught 36 games, outfield for 22 games, appeared in left field 13 games, center field 4 games, and right field 5 games. Garrett Wright has 2 years of collegiate eligibility remaining. He is not draft eligible, and he will play baseball in the Cape Cod League this summer. More information. Second-team freshman All-American by perfect game in 2024. He was the MAC Freshman of the Year in 2024. In 2 seasons, he's been a first-team All-MAC catcher, All-Defensive Team for the conference in both years. Holds Bowling Green program records for doubles in a season with 20 in 2025, and the all-time hit-by-pitch mark with 49. He's been plunked by 49 pitches in 2 years. Man, it's incredible, the fact that that's one of my favorite stats that I've seen when researching Garrett Wright. So he didn't take a visit to Tennessee, but spoke with the coaches numerous times, obviously, and wanted to go ahead and be a part of what Tony Vitello is bringing, is what he's got going on over here. So this is a really, really good one. He becomes the 5th transfer portal addition for the University of Tennessee, joining the first position player. He joins right-handed pitchers Clay Edmondson of UNC Asheville, Mason Estrada of MIT, Bo Rudy of Kennesaw State, and Brady Frederick of ETSU. And Tennessee now has 8 players who have left for the transfer portal. And infielders Jack Jones, Robinson Martin, left-handed pitcher Bryson Thacker, Thomas Crabtree, Braden Sharp, Ryler Smart, and of course Dylan Loy, and 9 players now. And then outfielder Colby Backus and right-handed pitcher Austin Hunley. Those players have entered the transfer portal so far. So Tennessee again being active. They hosted 4 different guys last week. One of those guys committed in Brady Frederick, the Bearden High School alum, but of course, coming from ETSU, he was the SoCon Pitcher of the Year. They had an infielder in from Cal. Feels like that one went pretty well. Aiden Robbins, an all Big East outfielder. Really, really good leadoff man from Seton Hall. He was in on campus. And Landon Mack, starting pitcher for Rutgers, coming off a freshman season. Really, really talented freshman season. Tennessee likes him a lot. Really, really wants him, but so do a lot of other programs. So it'll be interesting to see kind of how Tennessee navigates those guys, and we'll see what new names also pop up in the weeks ahead, because Tony Vitello is going big game hunting in the transfer portal, just as he always does. Finally, we'll conclude the show talking a little bit about Dylan Loy. Talked about him a little bit. We had a question in the previous segment. A really good kid. And again, it's one of Tennessee's most dependable bullpen arms. He led the SEC. Get this, led the SEC with 33 appearances so far. I know some SEC teams are obviously still playing in Omaha, but led the SEC with 33 appearances in 2025. 3.97 ERA, 4-0 is the record, had 2 saves, 34 innings, 33 appearances, 34 innings, 36 strikeouts to 11 walks. Opponents were hitting just 180 against him. Again, I think that he wanted the opportunity to go and start somewhere. I don't think that was a given. I think Tennessee would give him an opportunity, but I don't think it was a given that he was going to start here at Tennessee. I think Tennessee loved the role they had him in last year. And again, it's not just a throwaway role. It is the Kirby Connell role is huge. Tennessee threw Kirby Connell 8 of the last 9 games in 2024 prior to winning a national championship. Always smart about it, don't get me wrong. They're never just going to abuse the arms. But, that was Dylan Loy this year. He was the bridge guy. He was a guy that could stretch. He did 4 innings and 2/3 against LSU in the SEC championship game down in Hoover in the spring of 2024. Threw 3 innings and a third against Auburn at points and times this year. So he's got some stretch to his game, but also a guy that will come in, pitch an inning or 2 on Friday, and then throw it to a batter on Sunday. And sometimes he pitched all 3 games in a series. That's just kind of who he is and what he's about. He was a collegiate national summer team league tour participant in last summer, second team freshman All-American by the NCBWA. And, had 2 pretty solid years for Tennessee. I think that he loves Tennessee. Obviously grew up in Pigeon Forge, and where he attended Pigeon Forge High School, so he's an East Tennessee native. But I think he's just looking for new opportunities. So I wish him the best of luck. Comes from a great family. Always enjoy my interactions with him. This is kind of the nature of the beast, though, right? Players leave, players come. It's a business, right? It's a business on both sides. Not just in college baseball, but obviously college football and basketball as well. So wish Dylan Loy the best. Hate to see him go, but certainly, looking for other opportunities. I know that he's earned the right to do just that. So we will keep you updated on the transfer portal activities for the University of Tennessee. Who could come in next? Who are some new names that'll pop up? Will Tennessee host anybody this week? We'll talk about it all right here, just like with football recruiting. Right here on Locked On Vols. Big football recruiting weekend coming up. About 20 official visitors set to be on campus here at this weekend. Tennessee just hosted 16. Tennessee hosted 8 the weekend before that. Then we'll start to see a little bit of a run here, hopefully, in terms of Josh Heupel building onto the 2026 recruiting class. No better place to stay up to date with all of it than right here at Locked On Vols. Appreciate you guys, as always, every dayers. Thanks so much for the questions, sending those in. We'll do it again tomorrow, everybody. This is Locked On Vols.